Hello everybody and welcome to another vocabulary class. This is Adredo from Learn English Fast and today we are learning idioms about names. If this is your first time to the channel, we'd appreciate if you did subscribe and hit that notification bell. You will be kept up to date every time we come out with another video and we're always coming out with videos. Remember, please do comment. Ask as many questions as you'd like and we will get to those as many as we possibly can. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Now, let's have a look at 12 common idioms about names. They can be heard in many countries and are very informal, so those should help you with speaking fluency. And they also belong to level C1 and C2 of the Common European Framework of Reference. So the first idiom is Bob's your uncle. Bob's your uncle is a phrase that means and that it is or and that you have it. Typically, somebody says it to conclude a set of simple instructions or when a result is reached. The meaning is similar to that of the French expression "et voilà" or the American "easy as pie" or "piece of cake." So, let's see some examples. Just tell them you're a friend of mine and Bob is your uncle, you get the job. And the second example, you want to go to the stadium? Go straight on until you reach the park. Take the first left and Bob's your uncle. Alright? Idiom number 2. Jack of all trades. So, Jack of all trades is a figure of speech used in reference to a person who has dabbled in many skills rather than gaining expertise by focusing on one. This idiom is often a compliment for a person who is good at fixing things and has a fantastic broad knowledge. They may be a master of integration, as such an individual who knows enough from many learned trades and skills to be able to bring the individual's disciplines together in a practical manner. This person is a generalist rather than a specialist, alright? So let's see some examples. He can do many jobs. He's really a jack of all trades. And the second example, an artist with the right technology can become a jack of all trades. Alright? Idiom number 3, John Hancock. So, John Hancock, an influential figure in the American Revolution, is known for his especially large and legible signature on the Declaration of Independence. That's why his name is used to represent one's signature, alright? So let's see some examples. Number 1. Put your John Hancock at the bottom of the page. And the next one. I'd never have put my John Hancock on such an unfavorable contract. I think my signature was forged. The next idiom is nervous Nellie. It's basically a person who worries unduly or is foolishly fearful. The term apparently originated in the late 1920s and referred to Secretary of State Frank Kellogg, who served from 1925 to 1929. It so on was picked up and used for any individual, male or female, who showed such qualities. And again, that means to be more timid, nervous, or anxious than is normal or reasonable, alright? So let's see a couple of examples. The first one is, he's a nervous Nelly. He can't make a decision without the approval of wife. And the second example is, my mother's always a bit of a nervous Nelly around the grandkids, so she doesn't like to look after them. So the next idiom is keep up with the Joneses. Well, making an effort to match your neighbor's social and financial status. If you bought a Chevrolet, But the guy who lived across the street bought a Cadillac, you wouldn't, vehicularly speaking, be considered in the same league. But if he took his wife and kids to Europe for a month, and you took your wife and kids to Europe for a month, you were keeping up with the Jonases, no matter what your neighbor's last name was. So in other words, the phrase came from 1913 newspaper cartoon strip Keep with the Jonases and basically represents following suit. Alright? So let's see some examples. He works day and night just to keep up with the Jonases. And I'm sick of everyone trying to keep up with the Jonases. Alright? So the next idiom is before you can say Jack Robinson, or before you could say Jack Robinson. These expressions originated in the 1900s, but the identity of Jack Robinson has been lost. Gross's Classical Dictionary in 1785 said he was a man who paid such brief visits to acquaintances that there was scarcely time to announce his arrival before he had departed. But it gives no further documentation, so this idiom means almost immediately or very soon. Let's see some examples. Number 1. He can do difficult mathematical operations before he can say Jack Robinson. Very shortly, very soon, almost immediately. And the second one, before you could say Jack Robinson, she jumped into the car and driven away. So again, very quickly, very fast. Alright? And the next expression is be not short of a bob or two. Well, this expression was first heard in Australia, but now it has become common in many countries, and it basically means to be wealthy, very rich. So, let's see some examples. Her husband is not short of a bob or two. In other words, he's very rich. Did you see his car? He's not short of a bob or two. Again, a wealthy man. Alright? The next expression is every Tom, Dick, and Harry. So, the use of masculine names in this way dates from Shakespeare's time. He used Tom, Dick, and Francis in Henry IV, but the current one dates from the early 1800s. And people say every Tom, Dick, and Harry, or every Tom, Dick, or Harry, to talk about many different people, especially people they do not think are special or important. For example, every Tom, Dick, and Harry knows what happened. Okay, so everybody knows what happened. And Kate's being very selective as to who gets invited to the wedding, as she doesn't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry turning up. So, in other words, she doesn't want strange people to turn up, alright? Now, the next expression is Joe Bloggs. This name represents a typical, ordinary, average person. Though suggesting a male given the use of Joe, it does not necessarily refer to a man. It could refer to a woman, alright? Let's see some examples. This car is very expensive and it's not the sort of thing that Joe Bloggs would buy, alright? And that piece was composed by a great violinist and it's not something that John Bloggs could write. It has to be a special person, alright? The next idiom is Jekyll and Hyde. Well, the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from 1886 is a novel by Robert Stevenson in which the physician Jekyll, in order to indulge his evil instincts, uses a drug to create the persona of Hyde, which at first he can assume at will, but which gradually gains control of him. So it represents a kind of bipolar person, somebody with two separate personalities or ways of behaving, one good, pleasant, etc., and one evil, unpleasant, etc. For example, She is a real Jekyll and Hyde. You never know when she'll become unpleasant. Well, she has a bipolar behavior. And the second example. The professor was a real Jekyll and Hyde, sometimes kind and charming, and at other times rude and obnoxious. The next expression is the real McCoy. Well, there was an 18th century whiskey manufacturer called McCoy who advertised his product as the real McCoy to distinguish it from other brands with similar names. Alternatively, the expression may come from a dispute between two branches of the McCoy clan over which was older. Eventually, the McCoys of Ray or the Ray McCoys won the dispute. So, if you describe something as the real McCoy, you mean that it's the original rather than a copy, and is therefore the best. Let's have a look at some examples. Be careful, there are a lot of counterfeit coins at the show, but this silver dollar is the real McCoy. So it's the real one, not a fake. And the caviar was the real McCoy too. Not the stuff we buy in the supermarket at home. Okay? Not those fake ones, cheap ones. Now, the last expression is not know Jack or you don't know Jack. This expression is derived from a phrase you don't know jack shit and may refer to You Don't Know Jack, a video game series in 1995, computer game series, right? Which was also repeated in 2011 and 2012 in a different version, okay? And then You Don't Know Jack, a game show, a televised game show based on the computer game series. You Don't Know Jack, the film, a 2010 film about Jack Kevorkian, an American doctor known for a number of assisted suicides. And You Don't Know Jack, a song by country music artist Luke Bryan. So, let's have a look at some examples. The first one is, Jason claims to have a lot of programming experience, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't know jack about database. In other words, he knows nothing. In the second example, you don't know jack about poker, let's face it. So in other words, you don't know anything about poker game. Alright? So, I hope you have enjoyed this class and I'd like to thank you so much for being with me all this time. So, I'm going to ask again, subscribe to my channel, click on the button below, make sure you get all your friends to join us so you can all get my tips for international certificates such as Gmat, Toefl, Cambridge and Ielts. So, see you guys, I hope to see you next time. Cheers, bye for now.